Our topic today is minor chords and a related subject, flatting notes. So let's get down to business. Minor chords were probably among the first you learned on the guitar. E minor, A minor, maybe D minor. You may have moved on to playing minor chords in the bar chord form. If you haven't learned those yet, we'll have a video on doing those. So it's important to know what minor chords are, where they come from. We use them all the time, and obviously they're a huge part of our music. So let's talk about the theoretical explanation of minor chords and flatting notes, and then we'll apply them right to our instrument here. So hopefully you've watched the other videos that lead up to this video here, because I don't want to use any jargon that doesn't make sense to you. So hopefully you've done a little review of the previous videos. The word chord obviously means multiple notes sounding at the same time, right? On the guitar, it's very, very obvious. You hear all those notes ring together. Sounds nice. It must be a chord. Every chord, every type of chord has a formula. And the formula for each type of chord, whether it's a major or minor or seventh chord, the formula relates specifically to a major scale. Now, I know we're talking about minor chords, but the formula that I'm about to explain relates back to a major scale. We learned that major chords involve the first, third, and fifth notes from a major scale played at the same time. So for a C major chord, it would be the notes C, E, and G drawn from the C major scale. And those three notes combine to make a beautiful C major chord. C minor, on the other hand, the formula is a little bit different. It's the first, the flatted third, and the fifth degrees of the major scale. So we'd still have the note C, we'd still have the note G, but the E would no longer be an E, it would be E flat instead. So I'll say that again. The definition, the formula of a minor chord is 1, flat 3, and 5 from a major scale. In the case of C, a C minor chord would be a C plus an E flat plus a G. Those three notes would combine to form a C minor chord. Okay, so what you do is you flat the third. You flat the third note of a C major scale. Okay, so to flat a third in music theory terms means to lower that note by a half step. Okay, to lower it by a half step. That's why minor chords have that slightly lower sound in there, right? Instead of a major sound, you would hear just a little bit lower, okay? A flatted third. That's the music theory definition of a minor chord. The word flat, by the way, gets used as a noun. It gets used as an adjective, and then today we're using it as a verb, to flat a note, to move it down a half step. Okay, so there's your definition of a minor chord. 1, flat 3, and 5 from a major scale. Now, let's apply this formula. Let's apply it to the chords that we know and love, like E minor, A minor, and D minor. I'm going to start with the major versions. Okay, so let's start with E major, right? And now we'll turn it into E minor by applying this formula. Now, chances are you know your E major and you know your E minor. So you dutifully use 3 fingers to play E major, and then you lift one off, and that's E minor, right? Well, guess what you just did right there? You flatted the third. Now, bear with me for a second. E major, by definition, has the note G sharp as one of the 3 notes, and there it is. When you play E major, that's the G sharp. It's the G string, 1st fret, 3rd string, 1st fret. That's a note G sharp. Okay? When you lift that finger off, our G sharp now becomes a regular G, right? The open G string. So we took the G sharp and we flatted it. G sharp is here, we flatted it and turned it into a G natural. That's all. So now, instead of E, G sharp, and B, the major sound, we have E, G, and B, the minor sound. Flatting a note in this case was as easy as letting go of one of the notes. The next 2 won't be quite so easy, but they'll prove the same point. So now you have a concrete example of flatting a third. It just so happens that the 3rd degree of an E scale, the note G sharp, happened to be found right here, and it was easy to flat it just by letting go. Now, with A, it's going to be not much harder, but it's going to require a little more observation on your part. So give me an A chord, right? You got your guitar handy? And now turn it into an A minor. Now, most people rotate their whole hands around. The two chords would almost seem unrelated, right? Because of the different combination of fingers that you would use. It almost seems unrelated, but of course they're related to each other. What really happens when you do an A major chord and you turn it to an A minor chord is the note C sharp. That's the second string, second fret. I'm doing with my ring finger right there. The note C sharp gets turned into the note C natural, regular C, my index finger on the B string first fret. Okay? Now, this requires most of us to rotate our fingers around like this, but you can see really only one tone changes. The C sharp right there turns into C natural, and everything else stays the same, but it's a profound difference. In the key of A, the A major scale, C sharp is the third note of an A major scale. We flat it by scooching it backwards one fret. Remember, every fret is a half step, so we made the C sharp go back a half step, and now we have an A minor chord. All the notes stay the same because remember, the 1 and the 5 stay the same. It's only the 3 that gets flatted. Okay? Hope I'm not talking too fast. The first degree of the scale doesn't change. The fifth degree of the scale that doesn't change. The third degree of the scale gets flatted. Okay? And one more. How about D major turning into D minor? I bet you know what I'm going to say, right? I bet you can predict what's going to happen here. Let's hear the D major chord. And I hope you know your D minor as well. In this case, it's a nice little movement. The ring finger can stay where it is, and the index and middle sort of scooch around. Okay, so do you notice what happened? The skinny string note, the first string note, went back one fret. The note F sharp turned into an F natural, and there you have it. D major, D minor, one finger moving like that. D major to D minor. So you flatted the third note of a D scale. F sharp is the third degree or the third note of a D major scale. You flat it, you have D minor. Okay? So there you have it. Minor chords as applied to our instrument, the guitar here. Flatting notes to achieve that minor sound. And that about sums it up. Thanks for watching this edition of Music Theory for Guitarists. Plenty more to come, and I'll see you next time.